So this brings us to another claim here that he's trying to make that, well, hold on a second, but actually employers, by the way, have been adding record jobs since then. 187,000 jobs in August. The economy is doing great. Okay, here's the truth about that. The job report was really bad. Mm-hmm. I'll get to the 4 million jobs.
Job report was really bad. What the hell are you talking about? Which job report? August 2023? Oh, I see. Right. I remember looking this up, actually. Unemployment rate. I don't know what he's reading this from, but I didn't see anything about unemployment going up to 3.8%. Let's see. August unemployment rate. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Bureau of Labor Statistics says it is 3.8% in August. So it appears as though the unemployment rate did go up a little bit in August. That does not mean that, the economy is falling apart or any of that other garbage. Steven Crowder is looking for a reason to hate Joe Biden. And, having a slightly higher unemployment rate is his reason.
Jobs created in a second. Unemployment went from 3.5 to 3.8%. Here's what.
Oh, my God. 3.5 to 3.8. Imagine. Jeez, that's terrible. Biden is just awful. And this is evidenced by the fact that it went up from 3.5 to 3.8.
But they're leaving out. 1.2 million native-born Americans lost jobs. They have lost jobs.
Wow.
688,000 foreign-born workers have gained jobs.
Really?
Foreign-born workers? Wait, why? Is this even a measurement that's tracked? What is he talking about? Foreign-born, workers? Is he saying, people who moved here from another place gained jobs, but people who were born here lost jobs? I had no idea this is even tracked, if it is. Is this true? You got to check every word out of this dude's mouth, every word, because he lies about nearly everything. If he says the sky's blue, double check it, seriously. Double check everything this guy says. How many jobs were gained by foreign-born workers, U.S.? Apparently, foreign-born workers' labor force statistics is tracked by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or by the Bureau of Labor. The Department of Labor, I guess, is what it is, actually. Let's see. Demographic characteristics. I mean, I don't even know if this is true, and I don't have the time to, fact-check every word out of his mouth. In 2022, the foreign-born accounted for 18.1% of the U.S. civilian labor force, up from 17.4% in 2021. I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is completely made up or if this is anything. I have no idea, but I will tell you this. Russia and China are doing everything they can to get their people, their citizens, to have children. Russia offered people $10,000 per child to have kid after kid after kid right now. You know why? Because adding people to an economy, full motion video is going to be cut out. I apologize for, anything, just cutting out parts of the game or whatever, but these people are copyright hawks. Anyways, anytime people are added to an economy, anytime that happens, the economy goes up dramatically. It's just look at the stock market, for example. Look, Dow Jones Industrial Average. So let's look at just from the beginning. You can see the Dow Jones Industrial Average slowly trending up, right? And the reason that that's happening, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is tracking stock prices, so it's not a one-to-one correlation. But this is happening because more people are joining the workforce. More people are paying for Netflix and buying toothbrushes from Colgate and toothpaste. More people are paying rent. More people are going to bars and having a good time and blah, blah, blah. There are more people adding to the economy is the reason why the Dow Jones Industrial Average is going up consistently. Every now and then it crashes because the economy does, something is going on with it or whatever. But like right here, this is when COVID really started heavily affecting the stock market. But anyway, it trends upwards because we're adding people to the workforce or adding people to the buying economy. And that is why Russia and China are desperate to get more people into their economy. They're desperate to have their people have children. They want a new baby boom because it will make their economies explode. But the United States is in a unique position. We don't have to do that. We don't have to force an economic boom by paying people to have children. All we have to do is bring immigrants in or allow them in or open up citizenship or just make it a little easier to, or accept asylum seekers or whatever. That's all we got to do. There are people that want into the United States. You know why? Because the U.S. is built upon immigrants. It is an immigrant country. Everybody that lives in the United States is either an immigrant or is the children of immigrants, because the United States is basically a brand new place. Unless you are like directly descended from like Native Americans or whatever, you're an immigrant to this country. So anyway, the point is immigration is phenomenally valuable to a society, to a country, a demographic. Oh my God, is immigration valuable? We should be opening the floodgates. Let them in. Anybody that wants in. Why aren't we doing that? There's only one reason I can think of. So anyways, the point here is I don't care if it's like if foreign-born jobs went up or whatever. He's pitting immigrants against people who had immigrant parents instead of, he's an immigrant. He is a foreign-born person. The hell is going on right now? This is insane. This dude is doing everything he can to scare the shit out of, white people generally, white supremacists, and in the process is demonizing anybody that wasn't born here, apparently, which includes him, by the way. Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors. Watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video.
1.2 million native-born Americans lost jobs. They have lost jobs.
Wow.
688,000 foreign-born workers have gained jobs.
Really?
Yes.
Like, I don't know why this matters or if it's even true. Again, I don't feel like looking this up. I tried. It's going to take a while to research, but it's irrelevant. Why are you pitting people against each other like this? Immigration is so phenomenally good for an economy.
When you're talking about visas, you're talking about the lottery visas.
Wow.
You're talking about people. So in other words, this is the issue.
Okay. Is he saying that people who got visas had like their, had their job numbers go up or whatever? That's very different from people who were foreign born or whatever. Again, like him.
It's not about, I don't think there's a more clear statistic. It's not about immigration. It's not about dirty brown people. No, that's not what it is.
Yeah, it is. What reason do you have to be freaked out about people, gaining whatever? Like, I don't understand. Why does any of this matter to you? Any of it?
For some people. For some people.
Yeah, for some people it is about that. For a lot. Again, I can't think of a single reason other than racism why people would be opposed to immigrants coming into the country. What reason would anybody have? It gives an economy an insane boost. If we kicked out every immigrant that lived here, in the United States and shut our borders to not let anybody else in, it would destroy the economy that we live in right now. Immigrants make up the bottom half of our economy in the U.S. at best, and significant chunks of the top half. So, yeah, I want more immigrants. More immigrants is better. That would be ideal.
Former Vice President Biden and probably, his family reunion, I bet you probably hear that quite a bit. There's brown people.
Yeah, there's no other reason. What reason do you have for complaining about this? There's no reason.
Dag damn it.
1.2 million American jobs lost, 688,000 imported jobs.
Hey, guess what? People who were quote-unquote foreign-born are also Americans. I know you don't understand that or want to accept it, but you, Steven Crowder, are an American. You were not born here, but you are an American because you live here, because you have citizenship here, and all that other stuff. You're an American. This is just Steven Crowder doing everything he can to scare the shit out of everybody around him. Like scare the shit out of white people, basically. Like the same way Fox News does it to old white people. Steven Crowder apparently does it to young white people. And again, don't trust a word out of the dude's mouth. Don't trust any of these quote-unquote sources that he lays down, because I don't trust any of them. They're not trustworthy. I don't remember what I'm supposed to be doing here. I think do I go to the doctor's office? I think that's where I go.
This is how you know they're not looking. Now, here's some.
Wait. This is how you know they're not looking what? What was he going to say? This is how you know they're not. And who's they in that sentence supposed to be? I don't know.
You certainly can import those votes.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, 688,000. Hold on a second. What was the margin of error in those key states? Arizona was 10,000.
Yeah.
A lot of these states were within 30,000. 688,000.
My God, dude. Apparently you're not a real American unless you were born here. Boy, nobody tell him about Ted Cruz or honestly himself. Again. No, he's perfectly happy for people to immigrate here as long as it's from a white country. Germany, hell, even Italy or Spain, I think he'll probably take. But a brown country, unacceptable. Can't do it. This dude is like not even trying to hide his racism.
Foreign-born workers. Now, I don't know how many of them are eligible to vote. I don't know how many of them got citizenship, how many of them got green cards versus work visas.
Yeah, how about that? He doesn't know any of that stuff, so he's just speculating. He's speculating wildly and doing it for pure unadulterated racism. There is no other reason to be like worked up about this garbage.
But the point is, they're trying to establish a voting base for all time.
Who's they? Are they in the room with us right now, Steven? Seriously. There is no quote-unquote they. And I guess he just assumes that like every single person that moves to the United States is going to vote Democrat. This is insane. I mean, look at him. He moved to the U.S. and he votes Republican, presumably. Americans
lose jobs and we import jobs. That's a problem. That's a policy problem that everyone should be on board with solving.
Yeah, and by the way,
No, I don't care. If you live here, you're an American. If you have citizenship here, you're an American. No exceptions, no differences, no whatever. I don't care. And also, the more people added to a workforce, the better. Again.
They're not even right on these jobs reports numbers. Every single time they've had a report this year, it's been revised down by as much as almost half in 1 month.
Yeah, I would say that they're probably revising data as it updates and comes in and gets more accurate. Yeah, that's not bad. I don't even know if this is true. Again, if he says the sky is blue, go check. But assuming they're revising stuff, okay, great.
I think in June they were off by 48% or something.
Yeah, they had to
like
lower it down to 110,000 jobs
for the last 2 months. So I can't even believe the numbers that they're giving me right now. It's like
no, you can't. You have to be very careful with these numbers. That's correct. You just learning this? Is this just clicking? That these numbers are tentative? and we don't have much information on this yet because we're trying to do the calculations and all that. I can't believe that he's just realizing this, seemingly.
180 something thousand jobs. Are you sure about that? Sorry.
No, they're not.
Did I say 187? I meant 90.
1,000? No.
Yeah.
Jobs.
90.
Just 90.
And I want you to comment below. That's the beauty of also having, sample
Oh my God, I love looking at Steven Crowder comments. They are psychotic, dude. It's fantastic. We're going to take a look at those in a second, probably.
size. How has your financial situation changed? How has your employment situation changed since former Vice President Biden?
Oh, of course, they're going to claim, the people in the comments are going to claim that, like, everything is falling apart and all this stuff. Like, the economy is so bad under Biden. The economy is just bad in the United States overall, and has been for, well, honestly, since corporations were allowed to bribe politicians. Since the 80s or the 90s, it's been getting progressively worse. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, yeah, it's getting worse and worse as time goes on, as far as I can tell. And the problem is corruption. Like, people can't afford, a lot of people, like entirely too many people, cannot afford a $500 emergency. From my understanding, that's one of the statistics it's measured. And that is a massive problem and a massive indication that the economy is not good in the United States at all. But overall, the economy right now in the United States is significantly better than it was under Donald Trump, for example. So take that for what you will.
90.
Just 90.
And I want you to comment below. That's the beauty of also having, sample size. How has your financial situation changed? How has your employment situation changed since former Vice President Biden?
Wait, what did he mean when he said that's the beauty of having sample size? What the hell does he mean by that? That's the beauty of having, sample size?
Just 90.
And I want you to comment below. That's the beauty of also having, sample size.
What? What are you talking about? I don't understand.
How has your financial situation changed? How has your employment situation changed since former Vice President Biden has been, I guess, sort of wheeled into office?
But Biden isn't in a wheelchair. What are you talking about? You know who was in a wheelchair when he was in office? FDR. Hell, there have been presidents who were in wheelchairs. You don't have to be physically active or physically fit or whatever to be president. You're making decisions. You're using your mind to do things, not your body. Do you think he was supposed to be a soldier or something? What the hell is happening right now? And people are laughing at this? What?
Oh, by the way, Chad thinks he would make a great Walmart greeter.
Oh.
Well, that's because the minimum age is like 95.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, it comes with a complimentary oxygen tank.
You
There
don't
it is.
need
Speed bump. Somebody
that's
said
just
speed bump,
mean.
but no.
You could probably.
Wow. People said Biden would make a great speed bump, so they're endorsing violence. They want to hit him with their car. That's fantastic. Wow, hilarious. That is so funny.
Probably get out with more than your $900 of.
Yeah, he's not chasing
bill
you down.
free.
Yeah. I can't imagine him checking Costco
Wait, what?
receipts, though.
He's
Oh no!
Yeah, no.
Oh no!
That would just be licensed to steal. Huh? Is that a Roomba?
What do I do?
Yeah.
With the pen?
What's that?
That's not how Biden talks. That's not a representation of his mental state or any of that. It's a complete fabrication. But these people are obsessed with making Biden out to be this mentally ill, feeble old man who can't think straight. It's honestly an embarrassment. And it's sad that they're like this. Like, how did these people get like this? How did Steven Crowder get like this? Seriously.
It's a robot vacuum. Holy hell. I'm frightened.
I don't know what they're laughing at or what this means or whatever, but okay.
Burns.
So many numbers.
They're laughing uproariously. I don't understand.
So,
Oh my God, the laughing is getting worse. What the hell is happening?
Name that reference, though, Gerald. You're a Seinfeld fan.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
Thank you.
look, and this is the most important claim that you need to be ready to debunk, because you'll probably hear this at Thanksgiving when you go into election season. So
Okay, perfect. Let's talk about it.
here's the claim that they are making, and it is verifiably
Lay it on me. Stop hedging. Just tell me what the damn claim is.
false, misleading. You could say untrue, and again, we'll make the references always publicly available. He has tried to say that he has created millions of new jobs outside of. Now, he's trying to say get rid of the rebound from the pandemic, which, by the way, your party pushed. Oh, and also, you said you would never take the vaccine.
Dude, I don't. Are you giving us the claim or what? What's happening? I don't understand.
He has tried to say that he has created millions of new jobs outside of. Now, he's trying to say get rid of the rebound from the pandemic, which, by the way, your party pushed. Oh, and also, you said you would never take the vaccine.
Okay. So he's saying, I mean, he's not just getting to the damn point, but I think the claim is Biden is saying that he's created jobs outside of the pandemic rebound. Okay?
Because of Operation Warp Speed when it was Donald Trump's vaccine until you took credit. But I digress.
Mm-hmm. Wait. So is this dude in favor of the vaccine or against it? I mean, Biden didn't take credit for creating the vaccine. Biden took credit for passing the vaccine out to as many people as possible, to get, giving it out, to getting it in people's arms, having this massive campaign where everybody would get the shot. That's a good thing. So I don't know if Crowder is in favor of this or against it or what. I don't know. Is he opposed to the vaccine?
He's trying to say that 4 million new jobs outside of the pandemic rebound have been created. So that's not true, but you'll hear this a lot. Here's a clip of him starting that tour.
We've recovered all the jobs lost during the pandemic. We've added millions more.
Okay, so here's the truth. And context matters here. A huge portion, depending on which numbers, most of them, part-time jobs or very low-paying jobs.
Yeah.
So since February of 2021, 3.6 million part-time jobs have been created. Okay, 37% of Americans have more than one full-time job right now. 56% are considering a second job. There are more right.
You know what I find fascinating about this? Steven Crowder could have addressed actual problems in the economy, real problems. Instead, he chose to address fabrications or things that are completely irrelevant. Okay, sure, I suppose the things that he mentioned there are a problem, but what about the fact that wealth inequality is off the charts? What about the fact that minimum wage is on a federal level still $7.25 an hour, I think, or something like that? What about the fact that I think most people couldn't handle a $500 problem or emergency in a month? It's just not in their bank account. They don't have it. What about all that stuff? Bizarrely, instead of talking about those problems, which are genuinely issues in the economy, what's he going on about right now? He's talking about part-time workers and stuff. No, we want people putting more time in. People aren't working enough. We want more. We want people to have less leisure time. That's his complaint, seemingly.
Right now, Americans working multiple jobs than in recent history. I don't know if we have the numbers going back all the way to the 1970s, but I do know that in recent decades, there are more Americans working part-time jobs, working 2 jobs, and more Americans than ever working 3 jobs, working 3 shifts, just to be clear. And pretty important with this, by the way, weekly earnings down 3.6%.
Weekly earnings down 3.6%? I mean, I don't know if any of these numbers are true or where he even got them. He claims to have gotten them from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but you've seen him cherry pick data at every turn. He cherry picks it. Why are you comparing foreign-born people to locally born or not, people who are born in America? Why are you comparing that stuff? That makes no sense at all. Why is he comparing some of the things that he's comparing? It's bizarre.
Since Biden took office.
Well, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but combine that with the inflation rate, so you're earning less money and it's worth less anyway.
Yes.
So that probably comes out to, I don't know, I'm not a math guy, but
these are
8,
fake
10%.
jobs.
Mathematician is what he meant, not a math guy. He meant to say mathematician. Yes, that's true. Inflation went up a hair, and wages went down a hair, I assume. I mean, again, I'm just taking his word for it, which is a bad idea. But even taking his word for it, sure, yeah. The economy is not great. It's not perfect. But you know what? It's a hell of a lot better than it was under Trump. By like a mile and a half. Biden saw us through a massive economic recovery. You have to give him credit for that. Honestly, how much does Biden personally have to do with that anyways? Almost nothing, right? It's the people that Biden selected to be in positions of authority that contribute to fixing the economy. Janet Yellen and others, the Secretary of the Treasury and stuff like that. That's really who's handling this stuff. It's not Biden. But they're going to blame Biden or criticize him or whatever else, so okay. Go ahead, I guess.
Yes.
Loss of
Americans have significantly less money today than they did in the past when adjusted for inflation or when not adjusted for inflation. And you add into that 30-year fixed mortgage rates, right? They've soared since former Vice President Biden has been, in office.
Yeah, that was part of the attempt to decrease inflation. You have to you have to raise 30-year mortgage rates. There will come a time when we don't have to do that, when the United States can lower it again. But guess what? Donald Trump would be doing the exact same thing if he were in office, because that's how you get out of an economic disaster that way. And again, I'm not blaming Donald Trump for the fact that the pandemic showed up. Not blaming him for that. I will blame him for the fact that he discouraged people from using masks and didn't encourage people to get vaccinated enough. Certainly not in the moment. I mean, there's a lot to blame Trump for, but not the pandemic appearing out of nowhere. Steven Crowder can't see that nuance, apparently. I just gave that nuance for Trump. Can you give it for Biden? Of course not.
7.18% is the current rate. January of 2021 was 2.77, I think.
Yeah.
So I haven't done the math, but I think that means that you're in those golden handcuffs. If you were to get into a new house, let's say you sell your house and it's worth $500,000.
You shouldn't be working in the housing market at this moment. Raising interest rates is how they are trying to fix the economy. This is how they are lowering inflation rates and stuff like that. It's not a good time to get into the housing market.
And you have to get a new mortgage. You'd probably have to get a house at around $290,000, something like that, over the course of its lifetime. I mean, the amount that you are going to be paying in interest. So these jobs aren't new, just to be clear. They're part-time jobs. There are jobs, full-time jobs, that have been lost forever. More Americans, millions of Americans, have lost their full-time jobs, but we've...
Oh, really? Who did they lose those jobs under? Who's in charge at the time, Stephen? When were those jobs lost? I mean, do I even need to point out the obvious? It was under Donald Trump that these were lost. But again, I'm not blaming Trump for this, okay? I'm blaming the pandemic. Biden's administration is guiding us through the most dangerous and damaging, pandemic, or the recovery from the most dangerous and damaging pandemic in 100 years. You got to give him credit for that. Apparently, Steven Crowder doesn't, but I do.
Imported. Good news is over 600,000 foreign jobs, and your money is basically worthless right now.
Your money is basically worthless right now, he says. What an absolutely insane thing to say. There are actually situations in which there are situations in which countries have their own economy and their money really does become worthless. It becomes so worthless that they just throw it in the streets. They're throwing it out like trash. Where was it? Was it Venezuela? Here you go. Here are some pictures of Venezuelan money just thrown out in the streets because it was completely worthless. What happens when your money becomes completely worthless? Generally, U.S. dollars are used at that point because U.S. dollars are the reserve currency, the world reserve currency. Your money is not worthless. You may not have much of it. That's a problem.
Contextual.
You might have to work your nuts off for what little you get. That's totally fair. I can see that. But you can't say it's worthless. It's not. But, it's these little things Steven Crowder says and does. Little tiny jumps that he makes.
Millions of Americans have lost their full-time jobs, but we've imported. Good news is over 600,000 foreign jobs, and your money is basically worthless right now. Contextually, compared to
Contextually? Really?
what you would have had pre-pandemic.
Right.
But he added so many jobs.
Your money is worthless contextually compared to pre-pandemic. No. That is complete nonsense. In no way is that true. None.
100,000 foreign jobs, and your money is basically worthless right now. Contextually, compared to what you would have had pre-pandemic.
Right.
But he added so many jobs.
Yeah.
That's what he's going to go out and say, and nobody's going to challenge him on this. None of the media are going to point out the fact that all of those things that we just said are true. And if his number of added jobs is 4 million and it's 3 point.
Yeah, I don't know if what they said is even true. It's very possible, in fact, likely that they just lied through their teeth. But everything that they said was altered data, cherry-picked, twisted around. They even had things in there like p-hacking. I don't know if you guys have heard of p-hacking, but it's where you cut off the beginning of a graph to make a jump look more dramatic or less dramatic, to alter the way that people perceive the graph itself. Like, here, let me see. Let me just take the Dow Jones. Let's take a look right here. We've got the Dow Jones Industrial Average, right? If you look at this, you can see it and say, oh my God, look at this. The Dow Jones, the stock market is down. This is terrible. It's down by 1%, apparently. Wait, no, let's make it even more dramatic. Jumping from August 31st to September the 6th. Let's jump from August 31st to September 6th. That's a decrease of almost 2%. But when you zoom out a little bit and you look at, even worse, 1 month? Let's take a look here. It's actually down 2.5%. If you go from August 7th to August 24th, it's down almost 4%. That's called p-hacking, what I'm doing here. If you look at the 6-month trend, you can see the stock market is actually up by 5% over 6 months. Over a 5-year period, from September 7th, 2018 to September 7th, 2023, it's up 33%, 33.3. And if you look at it like since the beginning, since 1983 when it was being tracked, it's up 2,600%. So anyway, you got to look at the graph in context rather than doing this p-hacking trick like Steven Crowder likes to do. Basically, everything that they did here was p-hacking.
That's what he's going to go out and say, and nobody's going to challenge him on this. None of the media are going to point out the fact that all of those things that we just said are true. And if his number of added jobs is 4 million and it's 3.6 million part-time jobs,
Yeah.
I get it that people need to get a part-time job, but
Again, this is all p-hacking. Like, it's irrelevant. I don't care if there were part-time jobs. They're jobs that were added. And didn't Steven Crowder say that your money is worth more at the very beginning of this? I think he did. This is the most dishonest thing that I think I've ever heard in conservative media, and that's saying something. I'm subscribed to a Newsmax newsletter. Like, they send me emails every week. Now, I didn't sign up for that, bear in mind. My email address was probably on a list of hacked email addresses and then handed over to Newsmax at some point. That is most definitely what happened. I would never sign up for Newsmax. That is psychotic.
But not when it's 30% of the population considering a second job that already work full time.
Right.
And 50 some odd percent considering a third job. Are you serious?
God, I love it how they're suddenly super concerned about this part of the economy. Suddenly they care about workers' rights and labor and all of that other stuff. Suddenly they have a problem with how workers are being treated. First I've heard of it. It blows me away how brazen their propaganda methods are. Like, they don't even try to hide it. How do people fall for this? Seriously. Well, I know how people fall for it. It's brainwashing. They've been brainwashed probably since birth to believe the nonsense that Steven Crowder is spreading right now.
Well, you wonder why
That's
people's
not
trust in
economic
government has
progress.
gone away. You know, it's
No, because they lie about this stuff and
Yeah.
tell you that, they tell you it's rain while they're peeing on your forehead.
yeah, they aren't objective reports anymore. They're all opinions and spin. So
Well,
No, there are objective reports. You're just looking at all opinion and spin. Reuters, ABC News, AP News, fantastic news networks that aren't spin or any of that stuff.
you know, they say there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. Now, here's the thing. Statistics matter, facts matter. But tell me if you notice this trend. I do think that context often matters more than content when we talk about content with the show. I do think that context with numbers, particularly when you're dealing with the economy, they do matter. And you don't have to get incredibly nerdy. You don't have to have, you don't have to have a PhD in whatever that is when people get this master's degree in business. It's like, what? Just go start a business.
No, having a degree in business is extremely valuable. And you have no idea how valuable that is until you start a business and realize what you don't know. Steven Crowder knows what's involved in running a business because he runs one. And it's an absolutely absurd. This is just another attempt to get people to not go to college. Undereducated people are more likely to vote Republican. You can hear the exact same thing coming from Tucker Carlson. I'm sorry, I'm stopping every 3 seconds. I need to point these propaganda techniques out. This is when Tucker Carlson was still at his height. Late July 2022.
Advice to young people, particularly young men, is just dive face first into it. Like, drop out of college. College is ridiculous unless you're moving towards some very specialized degree that you can only get in college if you want to be a veterinarian or a physicist or something. But if you're in humanities, I can give you a list of 100 books. You can find it on the internet, and you'll be better educated than you would be at whatever stupid college you go to.
So here's just one example of Tucker Carlson discouraging college education. And now we're listening to Steven Crowder do the exact same thing, discourage college education, right? Let me show you one more video. Hang on. This video is called Don't Be a Sucker, and it was produced by the War Department education film from 1942 to 1948. I think it was edited during that time. Don't Be a Sucker. And it's describing how Hitler rose to power and convinced all these people to do all this stuff.
These men had won their struggle for power. They now ruled all of Germany. But still they had trouble with their oldest and most persistent enemy, the truth. They found that truth does not die easily, and so they decided to abolish truth. One great source of truth is literature, so they burned books, 20 million of them. Many great men in Germany who were spokesmen for truth were jailed or driven from their country.
We're talking college professors and anybody who was affiliated with science in any way, basically. A lot of people were jailed unless they towed the party line.
Teachers, writers, scientists. Education was discouraged. In 5 years, college attendance dropped 53%.
You know why that is? Do you know why that happened? One very simple reason. Because science did not agree with the assessments that the party had come to. Just like the Republican Party today, science did not agree with the Nazi Party in the 40s and the 30s. The claim was that, there are inferior and superior races and all this other stuff. Republicans and evangelical Christians make all kinds of absurd claims about evolution and how old the Earth is and blah, 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 blah. So what did the Nazis do as the fascist extremists that they were? Watch this part.
And I am proud to say that educators were among them.
And what, may I ask, is an Aryan? I don't know myself. But let us see what our present so-called authorities have to say about it. They say he is tall, slender.
These are leaders in the Nazi Party, and he's showing that they don't match the ideal Aryan whatever, basically.
Blue-eyed and blonde.
Like, literally, everything that he just pointed out was contrary to what was in the pictures of these Nazi leaders. I'm saying that in case you're listening instead of watching.
There is no Aryan race. And more important, there is no master race. There are people who may find these ideas convenient, but science cannot support them. There is no scientific proof that there's any correlation between a man's racial characteristics and his native ability or character. In all racial groups, we find the same range of potentialities. We find idiots and geniuses. We find criminals and philanthropists.
Yeah, and that's because there's really only one race, the human race. We split ourselves into different subsections, different denominations or whatever, and we found these weird little differences and then ascribed other differences to people with those original differences. One group has a little bit more melanin than the other group in their skin, just slightly more of a chemical in their skin than another. And in addition to that, everybody that has that melanin, slightly more of that chemical in their skin, is also stupider, less intelligent, less capable of reasoning than the people with less melanin in their skin. That's the conclusion that the Nazi Party came to. And the Republican Party, or many in the Republican Party, seem to have come to also.
We must judge each man as an individual, and not by the color of his skin, or his eyes, or by the length of his nose.
That's extremely important. It's an extremely important point to get. Really think about that for a second. There is no race. It's a fabrication. It does not exist. It's like something that you would find in an old book from the 1800s to try to create people who are inferior and superior. There is no race except the human race. There are only people who have slight differences in amounts of melanin in their skin, basically. That's it. And slight differences in, like, hair texture and things. But again, just like the Nazis of yesterday, Republicans today do not like to hear that.
Individual, and not by the color of his skin, or his eyes, or by the length of his nose. Come in, gentlemen. Make yourselves comfortable.
The Nazis just walked in. Nazi soldiers, basically, or the police, just probably the Gestapo or something, walked in on this professor who had been reported by somebody who was loyal to the party. Didn't like the fact that the dude was teaching this lesson. Didn't like the fact that he was accurately explaining that there is no race. It's a fabrication.
There are many differences between individuals. We each have different capabilities, different backgrounds, different views about what's right and what's wrong. Like the difference between me and these gentlemen who have just arrived. But that is not the difference in race. It is a difference in the way we think. Remember that. And remember that there is no master race. That is a scientific truth. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying.
And that's how it went. I mean, this is a dramatization from the 1940s, but this stuff really happened, like a lot. Happened constantly, as a matter of fact. This is how Hitler got people out of power that he didn't like, or out of positions of authority that he didn't like. So we start with Tucker Carlson talking shit about education, saying it's worthless, you shouldn't do it, waste of time. We got Steven Crowder here saying the exact same thing, because that's kind of the position of the Republican Party. And then we've got the Nazi Party doing the exact same thing all the way back in the 1940s.
In statistics. Now, here's the thing. Statistics matter, facts matter. But tell me if you notice this trend. I do think that context often matters more than content when we talk about content with the show. I do think that context with numbers, particularly when you're dealing with the economy, they do matter. And you don't have to get incredibly nerdy. You don't have to have, you don't have to have a PhD in whatever that is when people get this master's degree in business. It's like, what? Just go start a business. So you don't have to be a genius.
Yeah, I already addressed it. I'm not going to bother.
But you do have to go one level deeper. Do you notice that the numbers the left always pull? And you can see this I highly recommend that you follow Joe Biden, the White House, on Instagram, because they put out these numbers that just require a quick search to see is fake. And this always
I mean, they're not fake numbers that Joe Biden puts out. Maybe they are beneficial to Joe Biden's campaign to be, displayed that way or whatever. Basically every politician is going to encourage people to believe that they're the best or whatever. But Steven Crowder, the difference between what Joe Biden does and what Steven Crowder here does is the fact that Steven Crowder's entire job, beginning to end, is about manipulating statistics and lying and propagandizing. Joe Biden does not propagandize anywhere near as often as the far right. Like, not even close. I mean, I haven't seen any straight-up lies from Biden. Has anybody seen straight-up lies from Biden? I mean, again, he's presented things as beneficial to himself, but I haven't seen any lies.
Word document? Or are they lying? So they always take the largest number with zero context. For example, Barack Obama went out and said, wage gap, women make 77 cents on the dollar. Now, the only way you can make that argument is if you just compare the very broad men's salaries to women's salaries.
Yes, that's correct. That's the calculation. Now, I understand you don't like that calculation. You view that as not quite right. I suppose if you want to complain about that, you could. But there is an earnings disparity between men and women. That's simply factual. The disparity is there, whether he likes that fact or not. Now, it may be when you modify the measurements to be more like equivalent to like on a job level, like job for job, the disparity is still there. It's just not as dramatic. So you're getting closer to like 86 to 87% difference. Women get paid, I don't remember, what is the statistic? Accounting for the same jobs, same level of education, same everything. On average, men are paid $1,219 per week and women are paid $1,002 a week. That's a difference of $217 per week. 52 weeks a year. I mean, that adds up pretty quickly. This is the Department of Labor that I'm looking at right now, an official website of the U.S. government. And the wage gap With less than a high school diploma, men receive $745 a week, women $594. With an advanced degree, men are paid $1,998 and women $1,546. So here's the bottom line with it. There is basically, when you average those three values out, a disparity of 82%. Same job, same education, same everything, 82%. That means every dollar that a man makes, a woman makes 82 cents. That's what that means. Okay, so sure, I suppose that, it's slightly different than if you're measuring things a little bit differently, then it doesn't really work out that way. But there's a massive disparity here. Still. Now, Steven Crowder can lie and propagandize and pretend that there is no disparity whatsoever, but that's simply false. It's simply a fabrication. This is how Steven Crowder manipulates information to his advantage.
You're not taking into account degree, experience, number of hours worked. It's just average.
It doesn't matter. Like, even accounting for those things, there's a massive wealth disparity, 82% on average.
Male pay across all spheres of work and women. For example, another stat, they say guns are the number one killers of children.
That's correct.
Thing that you need to look up to see that that's false is, hold on a second, what are the demographics?
Wait, that's not false, though. None of these statistics are false. This is all accurate.
And women. For example, another stat, they say guns are the number one killers of children. The only thing that you need to look up to see that that's false is, hold on a second, what are the demographics? Oh, wait a second. You take away the 15 to 19-year-olds enter gang violence in urban areas, it's not even close.
Wait, why would you remove that value? That's like part of the equation. Those are kids that are being killed, right? Oh, 15 to 19-year-olds are suddenly not part of the demographic? Well, if that's the case, then there are no trans surgeries happening on kids. The only time a surgery takes place on a child, quote unquote, is when it's a minor, i.e. 15 to 18-year-olds, and it's only top surgery. There has never in the history of the United States ever been a bottom surgery performed on somebody under the age of 18. It has never happened because it's always been illegal. Suddenly this guy doesn't want to talk about or doesn't care about 15 to 19-year-olds. Suddenly they're irrelevant to statistics completely. See how he's willing to manipulate statistics to his advantage when it's convenient and completely ignore them when it's convenient?
So the only way they can make the argument, wage gap, is if you just go, okay, compare salary to salary with no context. The only way...
No, there's a wage gap still, even without accounting for all of that. So, like, even if you account for education and everything else, it all still adds up to a wage gap of 82%, apparently. According to the Division of Labor Bureau of Statistics something.
They can make the argument, it's number one killer of children. Well, if you consider 15 to 19-year-olds children.
Oh, he suddenly doesn't consider them children. Knock me over with a feather. Talking about children getting trans surgeries nonstop this entire time. Suddenly he doesn't consider 15 to 18-year-olds children, huh? Wow. I got to clip this out, actually. I have to clip this out. This is important. 2239. I'm going to get a clip of this. Steven Crowder doesn't consider 15 to 18-year-olds children when it comes to gun violence. Also, I'm not really convinced that if you remove 15 to 18-year-olds from the equation, that guns would not still be the biggest killer of children. I think they probably still would be, but I don't know. I'd have to look at the statistics. You see how Steven Crowder's doing this, right? He's describing how he is manipulating the statistics to his advantage. He's saying, well, if we just work this around here and take this out there and just kind of change it a little bit and modify it, then just like that, boom, we have a completely different value. How about that? It's like a joke, dude. Are you serious? How do people fall for this?
Right.
Otherwise, it's drowning. Otherwise, it's automobile accidents. Otherwise, it's toasters, for crying out loud. It's the same thing here with the jobs. When they say, oh, a job's created. Okay, they have to use the broadest statistics possible. They don't include part-time work. They don't include the average wages. They don't include the hours worked.
It's bizarre to me that suddenly Steven Crowder cares about statistics, nuances, and workers' rights, of all things. Bizarre.
So it's, wage gap. Hold on. One step deeper shows you're bullshitting. Guns #1 killer of children. Hold on. One step deeper shows you're bullshitting.
No, removing a step changes the value. Of course it does. Are you kidding me? 15-year-olds aren't children? Yeah, Steven, I know, that's a really weird thing for Steven to say, isn't it? 15 to 18-year-olds are not children, apparently. Okay. That's weird, but all right.
Oh, more jobs created. Hold on. One step deeper shows that you are bullshitting. And it's always the case? It's supposed to be the party of the intellectuals? Don't let
It is? I mean, I didn't realize that people viewed it that way. I guess like Steven Crowder views it that way. Interesting. The party of the intellectuals.
One step deeper shows you're bullshitting. Oh, more jobs created. Hold on. One step deeper shows that you are bullshitting. And it's always the case?
I mean, yeah, if you modify statistics, then it's going to come out with a different result than you started with, of course, yeah.
It's supposed to be the party of the intellectuals? Don't let them gaslight you because you wear a MAGA hat as though they're smarter than you. They're just liars.
When it feels
As if they're smarter than you. I mean, didn't he just, like, argue that it is the party of the intellectuals? Or...
feels like they get away with it because it's just, you know that term headline news, that network. Is that still a thing? H&N, right?
HLN?
I don't know
I have no idea what they're talking about right now.
if it's LN, but,
There was
you all
HLN.
get me.
For headline, Gerald. Headline.
Headline.
Yeah.
news.
Or
Scott
It was
Christie would say
network.
headline.
I don't know. I'm
Headline
not,
news.
I'm not
Dr.
a network guy.
Dr. Grayson.
I have no idea what's happening right now or whatever, but I'm honestly kind of surprised they're not, like, chuckling wildly like they have recently. They basically are constantly chuckling wildly in this show. Almost always, but not now, apparently. Okay.
Nancy Drew.
It feels like the only thing that they're doing is saying
Oop, there's a chuckle.
stuff to get a headline, and nobody does any other research after that. It's like, I want the headline to be that the economy is doing well and that people are doing better than they were before, but I pray to God they don't do any research.
Wow, a political campaign like Joe Biden's political campaign putting out favorable numbers knock me over with a feather. I can't believe it that he would put out favorable numbers to his position. Aside from all of that, Joe Biden has actually created a better economy than it was when Donald Trump was president. Dramatically better. The economy under Democrats always flourishes madly as compared to Republicans. The economy, if you invest in stocks while there's a Democrat in office, it's nearly guaranteed to earn more money than if you invest in stocks when a Republican is in office. Simple as that. And it's kind of a joke that, they want to pretend otherwise.
And actually, by the way, we've got a lot of chats. I don't know if we can bring them up. Like, we've got a lot of chats of people saying, no, they can't. They're making living paycheck to paycheck. And by the way, thank you for
yeah, perfect. Yeah, this is a totally 100% honest sample right here that we've got, and a totally unbiased sample, and a broad-ranging sample of people, right? Absolutely. Yeah, that checks out.
supporting Mug Club. If you're in that position, thank you very much for spending your hard-earned dollar, which obviously
we
you
do
don't
not
have
take
enough
lightly.
of here. Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much for that. People have a real experience day to day that does not match what politicians are saying.
Yeah.
And the right and left do this. The right does it in other ways. The left does it. You should be called out either way.
Yeah.
These numbers are terrible. The economy is not doing well.
That's why there's
People are
no way that this
feeling
guy
it.
wins the election unless there's.
Are you kidding me? See, they're setting it up to be a type of situation where these two people, or I'm sorry, where nobody will believe that Joe Biden really won the 2024 election. No matter what. No matter what happens, they will not believe it. It's a joke, man. Seriously, it's a joke.
Nefarious activity.
Unless
it's stolen.
That sounds like
you
a
guys
big
hit the
lie.
YouTube dump button if you need to, but you're allowed to question election results right now.
Oh, sure, you're allowed to question election results as much as you want. It doesn't mean you're correct about that assessment.
I mean, it's well, you're.
There's no way he wins this election unless it's stolen. Just to be clear, you know what? Just call me Amy Klobuchar. Call me Kamala
Hillary
Harris.
Clinton?
Like, what the hell are you talking about? Hillary Clinton didn't say Donald Trump won't win unless it's stolen. Hillary Clinton said, make sure you dot the I's and cross the T's and go through the court system and make sure everything is legitimate. Because she was not convinced that, Donald Trump was operating honestly. And she was correct in that assessment because, as it turns out, we came to find Donald Trump was working with Russia to improve his chances of winning the election. That was in the Mueller report, if you read it. Absurd. Like, none of these people did what Donald Trump did, or what Steven Crowder and Gerald here want you to think happened. It didn't happen that way at all.
Call me Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Call me Jimmy Carter,
Bernie
right, who all
Sanders.
said that the only way Donald Trump could win is if he stole it. And then when he did win it, they said that he stole it. The only way that this
Just complete fabrication. That is not how it happened.
guy wins because of the disconnect. Because you, right now at home with the clicker on your couch, I don't know how you're watching this. You could be watching it on your phone. The point is, you know what it is that you are living, and and even the average American who isn't politically involved knows that something doesn't smell right. That's how you turn people against you. Historically, it's pretty much always happened. It's pretty much always happened when the elites become so out of touch that they don't.
Oh, the elites, right, because Democrats are the elites. They're the party of the elites. They're the party of the rich. Definitely, absolutely, 100%. Democrats are the ones that, Democrats are the ones that own almost all of the wealth in the country and are opposed to worker rights and all of that stuff. Totally.
Don't even seem to be representing the people who have elected them. That's when they lose power. You're seeing that right now with Trudeau.
Yeah.
And you are seeing the disconnect with this former vice president. And the media still trying to prop him up, still trying to drag him across that finish line, weekend at Bernie. It's not going to work. The only way this guy wins is if it's stolen.
You stepped on yourself. Weekend at Bernie's. That's
I-
It's absolutely Weekend at Bernie's.
I don't think that's particularly original. That's why I felt ashamed to
Well,
say that.
Weekend at Bernie's too?
I think you're going to get to that net number of people under Trump versus.
Yeah, they're just absolutely convinced that Biden is going to lose no matter what, and there's absolutely no way around that. And they're trying to convince their audience of it. That is just sad.
people under Biden, and their net, how far are they ahead?
Yeah, well, the average salary increase, I don't have it here in the map. The average salary increase under Donald Trump the first 3 years was over $5,000.
Yeah.
I think it was $1,800 over 8 years of Obama.
Wait, I mean, it's higher now than it was back then. So Donald Trump is worse than Biden in that case, right? Because under Biden, it's higher. I mean, this is another example of this dude selectively picking out which things he wants to zero in on and talk about, and which statistics he wants to, touch on and talk about and all that stuff. It's just nonsense, man.
And then if you adjust and this is all adjusted for inflation, with Biden, it went down.
Yeah.
The numbers.
So
I
the
think
gap
maybe
is like
mission control can
$8,000.
get that to
The
us.
gap is like $8,000. That's real.
Yeah.
Dang.
It's huge.
It's a huge gap.
And then you can't buy a house now.
Right.
You have to rent. You're kind of a permanent renters class. People look at that.
No, you're not a permanent renters class. You're just, for this immediate moment, going to have to wait to buy a house if you want a better deal, because the government raised interest rates to try to lower inflation. It's not a permanent renters class. These people will do anything to twist it around and turn everybody except for them into monsters. Insane.
5%, like, 2 to 7%. No, that's like, that is the going from I can afford to make this house payment and have some money left over to do some savings to there's no way in hell I can afford to have a house.
Well, the good news is
thing.
if you rent, you know who the biggest purchaser of
good companies that we know and trust?
They have single-family housing units. Yeah. Vanguard, BlackRock, who, by the way, Elizabeth
Street,
Warren deemed too big to fail.
Ow.
So they...
Yeah, so I'm not a fan of these what do you call it, these companies either. I'm not a fan of any of this either. Like, I don't know what point he's getting at here.
Get perpetual bailouts. So you don't buy a house, you give them your money, and then when their business model doesn't work, Elizabeth Warren, being the for the people socialist that she is, has determined that Vanguard and BlackRock are too big to fail.
Okay, Elizabeth Warren is not a socialist.
And it's never ending. Hey, by the way, have you gotten your residual checks for the vaccine yet? Don't know if you remember this. You paid for that shit.
You did.
And then they made record profits.
I'm sorry? What? Oh, okay. I think I see what he's saying. People paid for, or Operation Warp Speed was used to produce the vaccine very quickly. Or we put a whole bunch of money into producing the vaccine through Operation Warp Speed, and then the government covered the cost of the vaccine. So the taxpayers did, in fact, he's correct. Taxpayers did pay for the vaccine, absolutely, through Operation Warp Speed. And then we got it for free. It was already covered by the government because they paid for it ahead of time. So, yeah.
And had no liability.
Where's former Vice President Biden? Where's Bernie Sanders? Maybe he's spoken out of. Where's the Democratic Party speaking out on behalf of you, the working man? You paid for this vaccine.
Yeah. Absolutely, we did. As, citizens who pay taxes, yeah, we did. We paid through Operation Warp Speed. I don't see what point he's getting at. And we got it for free when it came around. It was Operation Warp Speed, to my knowledge, was basically considered an advance on the purchase of, various vaccines. It was a method of rushing production and paying people, large sums of money ahead of time, basically. So I don't know what he's complaining about here. I don't really have any complaints. My only complaint is the fact that we have to pay for health care at all. I would love it if health care were just covered. We didn't have to worry about it as taxpayers.
You subsidized it. Well, that's fine if you get your money back.
You guys want to know how much money I spend on health care for 3 people? Per month? $2,000 a month for health care. That's what I pay. $2,000 a month. That's fucking insane. That is absurd on levels I can't even touch, in my opinion.
President Biden, where's Bernie Sanders? Maybe he's spoken out of. Where's the Democratic Party speaking out on behalf of you, the working man? You paid for this vaccine. You subsidized it. Well, that's fine if you get your money back.
Well, no. We don't need to get our money back. We need to get the vaccine. We need to get what we paid for, and we did.
Hey, even a CD right now is what, 2.5%, which isn't that good historically. You get nothing. You pay for it, and then the profits go to these companies.
Well, no, Big Pharma is now good. I don't know if you got the memo.
Yes,
on the left.
No, Big Pharma, or the companies that produce the vaccine, produce vaccines. I'm not saying they're good. They're not. They're terrible in a lot of ways, and a lot of times. They're just not trying to get one over on anybody with the vaccine, with producing the vaccine through Operation Warp Speed. The vaccine is not evil. They weren't whatever. These people just live in a fantasy land where everyone's out to get them all the time. It's insane.
Big Pharma is fantastic. They've never done anything wrong. Good. Drugs have never hurt people, and profits are fine.
Yep. Well, Biden's trying to step in now and say, look, I'm discounting drugs for seniors. You know that was glad handing. Hey, we gave you many, many, many billions. How about you discount a few at election time for us, and I'll look good.
Give us some.
Wait, glad handing. Okay. So, politicians are not allowed to tell people that they want to, or tell people that they want free health care anymore or whatever, or taxpayer-covered health care. Politicians aren't allowed to say anything positive that they would do for the people anymore because that's like cheating. If you tell the people what you're going to do for them, that's cheating. You can't do that. What is wrong with you? Seriously, how did they get to this point? I am just at a loss for words here.
By the way, the
and there are already existing drugs for decades, so it's free for them to do it.
Yeah.
They give a little discount, and Biden, wears it like.
He tried to
badge.
take credit for Donald Trump's, slashing of insulin prices. By the way.
I know. He was like, insulin should only be $30 a month or something like that.
Well, Biden was saying that because he believed that insulin should be cheaper. Now, did Trump slash insulin prices? Did Trump drop insulin? Misleading claims cite Biden for insulin price increases. It was not Biden's doing that raised the price increases, apparently. I'm trying to find... Trump said he wanted to or intended to, but did he actually lower it? I'm not seeing anything about Trump actually lowering the prices of insulin. That didn't happen. Yeah, no, as far as I can tell, Trump claimed it, but it didn't actually happen. He claimed it at a debate. Did this happen? As Haunted Shadows Legacy says, Eli Lilly lowered the price of insulin, not Donald Trump. So I'm taking that to, I know very little about this situation aside from what I just saw, but I take that to mean that the price of insulin just went down as a result of the company lowering the price. And Trump happened to be president at the time. That's my read on it. That's bizarre that they're saying this. Okay.
For people, and I was like,
That's because
I've heard this before.
And by the way, it's selfish. He drinks that like it's Mr. Freeze.
That's when no children
It's
are
just
around,
because his
so.
pancreas doesn't work. I don't think he has diabetes. Nothing works at that point.
That's what diabetes is, when the pancreas doesn't work. What the hell are you talking about, Stephen? What is and he said Biden is drinking insulin like what? Mr. Freeze? I don't understand the joke at all. This doesn't make any sense to me.
I've heard this before.
And by the way, it's selfish. He drinks that like it's Mr. Freeze.
That's when
I think the Mr. Freeze thing is a reference to a really old Batman movie. All the way back in, when did that Batman movie come out? I was little. I was a little kid. The 90s maybe? Or the 80s? I don't know.
when no children
It's
are
just
around.
because his
so.
pancreas doesn't work. I don't think he has diabetes. Nothing works at that point. Everything's going now. Come on.
He looks like he's just made of glass. Like he could, if he
Oh,
bumped
yeah.
the podium, he's going to dislocate his shoulder. And,
Yeah, I know, right? I wonder how Donald Trump is feeling right now, being just 3.5 years younger than him. I love it how they completely ignore Donald Trump being basically just as old as Biden and just as frail, just as whatever. They completely ignore that fact and zero in on Biden being old. Yes, Biden is old. We know that. We figured that out already.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
All right. This is an exclusive that we now have. Thank you again. Your support with Mug Club. It supports our undercover investigative.
Okay, that's going to be a hard pass for me. I guess he's doing his little advertising thing now. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments. This dude is absolutely terrible. Like, he has no morals at all, does he? Does it get more disgusting than this? This is awful. Yeah, let me know what you think.